One day, a scorpion was walking along the river trying to find a way to cross it. Since he knows that he can't swim, he needs to find someone to help him to cross the river. He ran upriver and downriver all the while thinking of his options. And that's when he saw a frog who was having a relaxing time sitting along the river bank. He approached the frog. He said, "Hey, Mr. Frog, looks like we are having a great time. And I really want to cross the river. But as you know, I can't swim. Can you please help me to cross it?" The frog looked at him and said, "What do you mean?" "I mean, can you let me to crawl on your back and you carry me across the river?" "What? Are you kidding? I can't do that," said the frog. "Why not? How come?" "Why not? Because if I let you crawl on my back and try to swim across, you will sting me and I will die." "Why would I do that?" asked the scorpion. "Come on, Mr. Scorpion. You know that and I know that. That's who you are. Scorpions sting frogs." "Okay, come on, Mr. Frog. Look at it this way. If I sting you, you will die. So I will die with you in the middle of the river. Why would I do that? I'm not going to do such a thing. Come on, just help me to cross the river, please." Then Frog thought, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. If he stings, we're both going to die. All right, he might not do that. "Okay, so crawl on my back, but remember your promise. You can't sting me." The scorpion felt so happy. He quickly jumped on the frog's back and they started crossing the river. Halfway across the river, a frog suddenly felt a sharp pain on his back. He looked up and he noticed that the scorpion had stung him and he was removing his stinger from his back. The frog felt so scared. He started feeling the venom of the scorpion going through his body. He felt so numb and he started losing his strength. He started drowning. Just before he was taking his last breath, he looked up and asked the scorpion, "Why did you do that? You are such a fool. Now we're both going to die. Tell me why." And the scorpion said, "I'm sorry, friend. I could not help it. That's who I am. I am a scorpion. Scorpions sting frog." Identity. The way that we identify ourselves. Are you your identity? Some people believe that they can't change their identity. They say, "That's who I am. I can't change it." They walk around calling themselves, "I'm a failure. I'm a fool. I'm a stupid person. I can't do anything right." Now, where do you think these identities come from? One day, a mother and her 10-year-old son were walking along the supermarket aisle. Mother was pushing the trolley and son was having a great time. And when they came to where the milk cartons were, son wanted to help his mother. So he reached 3 or 4 cartons at the same time, trying to put everything into the trolley. But then he dropped one and the milk went everywhere. The mom got really angry and she said, "You are a stupid child. Look what you did. Look at the mess." So what happened? This child did something wrong. That action was not acceptable. But what did the mother say? Mother said, "You are a stupid child." Just because a person does a wrong action does not make that person a bad person or a stupid person. So what is the other way of saying the same message? She could have said, "What you did was a stupid thing. Don't do it again." How many times we do the same thing consciously or unconsciously to our children, to our friends, more importantly, to ourselves. Just because you have failed once or twice, do you call yourself a failure? You may have missed few opportunities here and there, but is it fair to call yourself an unlucky person? Your supervisor or the manager may have rejected your proposal, but it doesn't make yourself not a creative person anymore. Now look at the achievers and the successful people or the role models. They will tell you how many times they have been rejected. They will tell you how many times they have failed. But they never made that mistake an identity to recognize them. When you create a negative identity, you would start believing in that. And then later on, you will think it's impossible to come out of that because you think that's who you are. You are not. You are more than that. You are a human being. That's the difference between we as human beings and other creatures. We can consciously make the decision to do or not to do things.
I was 18 years old when I got married. I belonged to a very conservative family, a Baloch family, where good daughters never say no to their parents. My father wanted me to get married, and all I said was, if that makes you happy, I'll say yes. And of course, it was never a happy marriage. Just about after 2 years of getting married, about 9 years ago, I met a car accident. Somehow my husband fell asleep and the car fell in the ditch. He managed to jump out, saved himself. I'm happy for him. But I stayed inside the car and I sustained a lot of injuries. The list is a bit long. Radius ulna of my right arm were fractured. The wrist was fractured. Shoulder bone and collarbone were fractured. My whole rib cage got fractured. But that injury that changed me and my life completely was the spine injury. Many people came to rescue. They gave me CPR. They dragged me out of the car. And while they were dragging me out, I got the complete transection of my spinal cord. Those 2.5 months in the hospital were dreadful. I was at the verge of despair. One day, doctor came to me and he said, well, I heard that you wanted to be an artist, but you ended up being a housewife. I have a bad news for you. You won't be able to paint again. Next day, doctor came to me and said, your spine injury is so bad, you won't be able to walk again. I took a deep breath and I said, it's all right. Next day, doctor came to me and said, because of your spine injury and the fixation that you have in your back, you won't be able to give birth to a child again. That day, I was devastated. I started to question my existence. Why am I even alive?
Don't let your one-time mistake create your permanent identity. Because you are better than that. We are all better than that. That's why we are called as human beings. In our brain, we have 100 billion neurons in there. And we create and send more messages than all the phones in this entire world. It can create new things for you. It can recreate a new future for you. But that's all depends on what you want to do with that.
So what kept me going was, one day I asked my brothers, I know I have a deformed hand, but I'm tired of looking at these white walls in the hospital and wearing these white scrubs. Bring me some colors, bring me some small canvas. I want to paint. So the very first painting I made was on my deathbed, where I painted for the very first time. What an amazing therapy it was. Without uttering a single word, I could paint my heart out. I could share my story. People used to come and say, what lovely painting. So much color. Nobody could see the grief in it. Only I could. And that day I decided that I'm going to live life for myself. I am not going to be that perfect person for someone. I am just going to take this moment and I will make it perfect for myself. That I'm going to fight my fears. So I wrote down one by one all those fears. And I decided that I'm going to overcome these fears one at a time. You know what was my biggest fear? Divorce. But the day I decided that this is nothing but my fear, I liberated myself by setting him free. And I made myself emotionally so strong that the day I got the news that he's getting married, I sent him a text that I'm so happy for you and I wish you all the best. And he knows that I pray for him today. Number 2 was, I won't be able to be a mother again. And that was quite devastating for me. But then I realized there are so many children in the world, all they want is acceptance. So there is no point of crying, just go and adopt one. And that's what I did. I gave my name in different organizations, different orphanages, and I waited patiently. 2 years. You are.
Now let's do something very interesting. Either you can pause this video and take a pencil and a paper and do it, or you can do it in your mind. This is what I want you to do. The question is, how do I identify myself? How do I identify myself? You can start writing. I'm an emotionally balanced person. I'm an achiever. I'm a failure. I never get anything done in time. I'm too old, or I'm too tired, or I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel healthy. If I start something, I will finish it. And the second question is, how do other people identify me? How do other people see me? Okay. Now you have two lists. Look at that. If you see anything negative in there that stops you moving forward, it's your chance to change it. Tell yourself you are not that person. You are more than that. You can change that. That's not your permanent identity. How do some people become successful but not others? How do some people seem to be making all the right choices while others get it wrong time after time? How do some people always get positive results regardless of their situation, whereas others get stuck and produce negative results every time they take on a challenge? These are very common concerns or questions that we hear from people around us. Almost all of these questions and concerns are raised by people who have failed to produce positive results in their lives. If you listen to them carefully, you can hear the reasons and excuses soon after the queries. The most popular reason for their own failure includes, they say, successful people had more resources than I had. They had the perfect background, and they had friends and mentors who could help them with. And they went to the perfect school, and they are living in the best country in the world. So they have become very successful. Do you believe that? Is that right? People who have the best circumstances in their lives do not always turn out so well. We have repeatedly seen people who have had a bad start to life, difficult childhoods, turn their lives around. We know of people who had absolutely no proper education, but have become extremely successful professionals and business owners. We have heard of people who have repeatedly failed, but eventually gone into becoming extraordinary people that you and I admire. Whatever the experiences we undergo, whether it's negative or positive, it's the part of our learning process. But unfortunately, sometimes we try to internalize the external experience and name that experience good or bad and identify ourselves as that person. Just remember, whatever we did or did not do, that's in the past. It's gone. It's only exists in our mind, nowhere else. So, do you want your past memory or past experiences, which is no longer in the existence, to determine your future? Challenge your identity and come out of your old clothes.